Here we are. This is Nice Try for the Fans with me, Elle, and
What it do, baby?
that's Timothy Joshua. Without that voice, there would be no Nice Try for the Fans. Yeah, that's the truth. And without losses, we wouldn't appreciate victories. Today, because the team was announced, the Springbok team to face Portugal was announced, and Salman Murat was named captain. There was a lot of throwback Tuesdays going on, showing him getting his first ever cap and taking the Springbok oath. And in it, they talk about how they need to be gracious in defeat. And I didn't know that was part of the Springbok oath. So that's obviously why they're so good at doing just that. No sour grapes, no going back, talking about woulda, shoulda, coulda. They took it in their stride. Are we taking it? Are we taking it well? How are you feeling after the 1-point defeat?
It was disappointing, obviously, to lose in such a tight game. But I don't know. I don't have much confidence in us playing in Durban. I know I said I was very relaxed going into it, but it almost resigned. Because I don't know. I can't recall any outstanding Springbok performances. This might just be my memory failing me, but Durban just has this.
Yeah.
It's never as comprehensive as other places. I mean, it was our game to lose, I think, as well. So, fair play to Ireland. I don't have any sort of nagging or, feelings of unjustness or anything like that. But it was a great season. It would have been lovely to have a third one. But unfortunately, I think my sort of psyche set on World Cups. These in-betweens are nice to have. I mean, I know we spoke about a potential streak of consecutive wins that we might go on, and there goes that. Sort of to build up that level of excitement, because truth be told, we will be waiting until the next World Cup. I think South Africans measure a success of a particular team era coach by a World Cup, and so it's nice to see the new guys getting chances, and I think that's more what I'm looking forward to.
Oh yes.
And the development in our game plan. But from a results perspective, I'm not really that fussed.
Yeah.
Closer to the World Cup, I'll probably want to see more sort of results, as we want to go in with positive win percentage. But we're 3 years away, so we've got a lot of time.
We'll, of course, be unpacking that match a little more a little later. And I also want us to talk a bit about this rivalry, this 1 and 2. It is quite lovely. We know there's us in New Zealand, that's the old enemy. But I do enjoy having this. It's another dynamic, it's another layer to rivalries and competition, and it's great to see, and that's part of development. It's not just on the player level and the team level, but it's also the landscape level. But before we take a deeper dive into that match, let's look back at all the major results. Now, there's lots of rugby going on, and we give you all of those fixtures, but we can't get into all of the matches, so we're gonna just look back at New Zealand, who closed out their series with a victory over England, 24 points to 17, largely thanks to, for me, the best Barrett brother, the Bowden brothers. People do that with Bismarck and Yanni as well.
Yeah.
They forget it's the Duplessis brothers. They call them the Bismarck brothers. I want to call them the Bowden brothers.
Shows who's carrying the
who's carrying the family.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's the Bowden brothers, because Bowden Barrett, despite his brother being the captain, that's Scott, and Jordan kind of being the incumbent, he injected lots of energy, pace, excitement I think it would have been closer had he not come on and made quite an impact. But that's just, as an outsider, as a fan of the game, that was my take. Did you watch it all? I know that you're keeping an eye on Razor and what he's doing.
Yeah, I caught, I would say, most of the match. I had to drop off towards the end, which is obviously when things changed a bit for them. But from what I've read and what I've seen, it seemed like, Bowden, someone said Bowden seems like the adult,
Yeah.
coming into to give a clear head and clear direction. And I mean, that's just the quality of the player. The All Blacks are still blessed to have him in the setup. Whether he'll be able to be there for the next World Cup, it's a bit of a question mark. But I mean, for someone as explosive and as physical as he is, he hasn't had many injuries. So I would love to see him at the next World Cup. And I'd love to see what Razor would be able to do with him. Obviously, Mackenzie is also a great player. I'm not sure if he's a 10. I think of him more as a fullback, at least in the All Black setup. But yeah, I think the All Blacks, I mean, I said Eden Park.
Yeah.
It's just, even when I saw the halftime score, I thought, okay, like, how are they going to... It's just going to be interesting to see how they win, because they are going to win. But yeah, fair play to England. They also really put out, across the two games, I think, really stand-up performances. I think probably Alex Mitchell, probably in form, scrum off, probably best in the world.
Sure.
Just insanely accurate when it comes to box kicks. Obviously his defense is solid, and then just his work at the rack. I was really impressed by him. Itoje, obviously, just always a menace. But yeah, I like what Borthwick is doing with England, and yeah, I'm excited to see how Razor takes on a challenge like the South Africans. It's a different kettle of fish.
What about Marcus Smith? You're mentioning Mitchell and Itoje, but lots of talk around Marcus, not necessarily consistently, but he had some Marnie moments, and those moments of magic are what kept England knocking on the door.
Yeah, no, like I think he's probably cross kick merchant number one. His vision and even the way he's directing that English team, it's really something to behold. I have some question marks regarding his defense. I don't fault him for bravery, but there's just there's limits that you're going to come up against, especially in World Cups, definitely. But yeah, he's definitely got the backline on the string, and he's doing his Finn Russell.
Oh boy. Another coach who'll be happy is Joe Schmidt. I mean, not as happy as Razor, but Australia did close out their series with a victory over Wales, 36 points to 28. No standouts for me there, but I'm delighted for them to, get some kind of an atmosphere, because after the World Cup, the way they exited, everything that was going on with just the sport itself, it is nice for them to start this season and this year with victory. Yes, over a struggling team, but a victory nonetheless. They'll probably just be building from here on out.
Yeah, I think, like I said, Joe Schmidt is a very good coach, world class, and the issues in Australian rugby is not as much deeper than just what he has to deal with. But interesting or positive news is that they have reached, I think, a record amount of registrations.
Oh yay!
For the first time in a few years.
Sure.
They've reached 4,000, which is just showing you it's a very, very...
Wow.
I mean, obviously South Africa, just in terms of population, is more than Australia.
Yes. And
But-
yet there's 4,000 in Poland.
On any given weekend. But so like it's a bottom up work that needs to be done. But winning will solve all these issues. You need to make your best athletes see a viable career, and I think once they get that momentum, you will see people start investing. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they work that, and if he can, really get the best of what he has.
Yes. And then Argentina, your beloved Argentina, they finally did the job. They beat the French 33 points to 25, and this was Kandapomi's first victory. Well done to him. And also, it was the Pumas' first win in Argentina since they beat Australia back in 2022.
Wow.
That's
crazy.
I'm trying to think. Maybe when was the pandemic? Could it be because they didn't play? No, they hadn't won. So good for them. Yes, like you mentioned last time around about the one sport nation. They had their attention divided with Copa America.
It didn't help them winning it against. So.
Yeah, but well done to them. And I want to give a special mention to our neighbors Namibia and our next opponents Portugal. They went head to head last weekend, and Portugal came out victorious, 22 points to 37. Portugal beating Namibia. Well done to Namibia for hosting and getting their players out there, and well done to Portugal for showing the heart that we saw glimpses of at the World Cup. And of course, we're going to be looking ahead to that Springbok Portugal match a little later on. But before we get to the breakdown, if you're listening on Spotify, yes, you can listen without a profile, but if you don't have one, then you're not able to participate in our poll, and we'd love for you to be part of that conversation. So do get in on the action. Of course, you can also share your comments on YouTube.
We're back.
If you're listening there, and if you're listening on Apple, well, yeah, great. You can still leave a rating. Whatever you do, be part of the conversation. It's nothing without you. Now, Box Ireland. As mentioned, 1 point in it. Last time I asked you about the score being a fair reflection. I'm tempted to ask you that again. But I think it was really tight. So I'd say it could have been 1 point either way. But at the same time, I feel like I'm being a little biased, and maybe we could have lost by a little more. At some parts of the match, I thought we were out of reach.
Yeah, I definitely had that in the first half. I think Ireland obviously dominated. And yet we had a few chances that we just left on the field. So I think on the balance of play, like you said, a 1 point victory is probably not it's not out of bounds given the performances of the players across the 80 minutes. But yeah, I mean, obviously from a South African perspective, you look at the chances that we did have, that we should have completed. We didn't score. That's something that I think of all the talk of our attacking play and finishing.
Yes.
And it was just a bit disappointing to see, especially our set plays on our feeds in particular. I think we were a bit wasteful on that side. Obviously injuries played a massive role. The bomb squad was kind of drip fed because of players leaving the game. Like Ergio probably didn't know if he was coming or going.
I didn't at one stage. You're walking the wrong way. Oh, you've been there? No.
Oh, okay. And then obviously to lose someone as pivotal, I guess, for our attacking play, like Philly.
Yes.
That changes things. So given, that contextual differences, assuming they would have had to game plan or change their game plan, and Ireland did what they do. I think on the balance of things, and if you look at the two scores across the two games, I think we deserve to come out on top there, because I would say South Africa probably had three offs.
Yes.
So 3/4
Yes,
of dominance
yes.
as opposed to Ireland's total.
Yeah, so if it was boxing,
Yes, we would
yes, we'd win.
have. Yeah.
Yeah, let's be consoled by that. You know, we were still putting in all of the tackles, so we were doing the work, and Peter Steff, as usual, Eben bleeding for his country. There was a lot of blood
Yeah.
in that match. You mentioned Willie and how he had to go off probably a lot earlier than usual. So 2 things, maybe 3. Sasha, this platform right here is, you know, his fan club. So everyone who listens knows how we feel about him. But of course, after that first match against Wales, when we spoke about it, you mentioned how he wasn't necessarily tested because the pressure wasn't on. The match was it was in a good place.
Yeah.
And so he came on and things were okay. This wasn't the same. This was
Yeah.
a little more pressure, and the timing, he had to play a lot more. And so part of my question comes to, and he actually talked about it in one of the press conferences where he's saying, you know, he might have these skills and he's talented and he's everything we know, but he hasn't played enough in this context to know how to handle certain things or communicate certain things. He made a big thing about communication when it comes to Willie being able to speak to the rest of the back line and direct things.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that yet,
Yeah.
and they're still building that in him.
Yeah.
So that's one part I'd love your commentary on. But then at the same time, he did so well. He did, you know, the Bowden Barrett stuff when it comes to injecting lots of energy and just being so calm and cool, and you know, there was nothing frantic about him, even though he was under a lot of pressure. And the same can be said about Grant Williams, who I firmly believe in. He did exceptionally well. But then also, just highlighting the two of them, let's go back to Matt Williams and discrimination against the backs. Was this a match where maybe people who are against the way the Springboks and Rassie does things, could they be going, you see, you only had 2 backline players and look, you were kind of stuck. Like, because we couldn't do anything else. Grant had to come on because Faf he was being destroyed, and Sasha was forced on early, and then we had nothing else. So if we needed to make any other changes, if we needed to, no, there was no chance we could take Andre off. He was all our score. But yeah, so that's my...
With Sasha's performance, it's a bit tough because, like you said, and I think he recognizes, he doesn't have that cachet that Willie has. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the experience on an international level. It's Willie's team. When it comes to calling plays, he's the main communicator. I think the flashes of brilliance that we did see from Sasha it's obviously exciting, and it's really, you know, riveting to watch, but it's mostly from broken sort of mercurial talent shining through. So whether the coaching team really got the answers they were looking for, I'm not sure. I mean, he didn't do anything, you know, incorrect.
Yeah.
But he obviously can't fulfill that Willie role. On a more somber note, obviously this is Willie's second concussion. The incidence or the risk, I think, is higher for future. So just looking at it from a personal standpoint, does Willie want to risk this? He's a 2-time winner. He doesn't have anything to prove to anyone. And you have someone as capable playing in the Portuguese test.
Yes.
And then we've got Q and Warren as well, which I'm a big fan of.
Okay.
And I mean, Franco turns out broke his leg.
Yeah.
And Malcolm Marx also was playing through an injury. So, yeah, Matt Williams. I mean, what can I say? I think it will be interesting to see how they work with the players now. Because obviously, Tony Brown was brought in. He had a template Tony Brown wants to do. So I was watching Pollard again.
Mm-hmm. And you actually, sorry, but just to... I listened to...
Heard it from on a podcast.
Yeah, so I was listening to my favorite podcast, Nice Try for Fans. available on all major
platforms.
yeah. And Timothy said he's going to be watching Pollard in the second match.
Yeah.
That's the person that he's looking to.
Yeah.
And obviously the entire team heard you. And Pollard was the only one who put points on the board. But yes.
Yeah. Just his general play, I think what they're asking of him is it's very few fly-offs that will be able to do what they're asking him to do.
Okay.
So there was the one chance I remember where he gave a very, very flat pass to Cheslin on the wing. Cheslin then knocked the ball on. But had he not given that flat pass, it wouldn't have been as much of an opportunity, because he really put Cheslin. He basically created the line break. Had Cheslin been a bit more forward.
Yes.
Because he took the ball up, almost was initiating contact, and passed this very flat pass. I think that is probably what they want. You could see in the second half he was initiating way more contact, carrying more, and maybe that's him, trying to be big man, trying to, really push the team over the line, given that Billy's not there. But I think as he gets more comfortable, and if he can really pull it off, it's going to be something special. Since he has his kicking boots on, so you can't really fault him. And although the tackles was a high shot there that I think probably went unsighted, but
that's okay, because some of the things you see our players go through, the wrestling moves on the ground and all. Not to say that if they do it, we should do it. No, that's not part of the oath.
Yes.
But yes, we're talking about the general, the marshal, the guy who plans the attack, the guy who controls it, the guy who communicates it. Who's that going to be? Is it going to be Sasha? Are we going to see it from Andre? Will it be Damien when he comes back? This is such an exciting time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the near future, it's obviously Mani, right?
Yeah, the near future. Saturday.
Yeah, this coming Saturday.
I'm so excited. I've missed him so much.
Because we know Mani can do that.
Oh, yeah.
There's other question marks surrounding Mani's game. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think we ever recognized ace goal kicker in that first 15. So they're really putting everything on him. It'll be interesting to see how he gets along. But obviously we know that Mani can do that. Yeah.
Also with Kirtley scoring a hat-trick. Those
what did Jock say? If he assists tries like that, we're not worried about it.
We're not counting the misses. But no, we believe in him, and I'm just excited to see him again. It's been forever. But are we finished with our wrap-up of the match? We're already looking ahead. Were there any other moments or any takeouts? I know you said that this match and this series, it has its place and it's part of a transition. Did you say that, or did I think that? Was it a transition match?
We'll only know in a few matches.
Okay.
Because I know there's some calls for some people in the squad. We have to look 3 years in advance now.
Yes.
Who is going to be more likely able to contribute? And I think, it's time to start entertaining those questions now. It's time for players, if they want to be in the mix, to really stamp their their credentials on, and they punch their ticket. I think it is a transitional period. I think this Portugal test and probably the two Wallaby tests as well will be more so. We will see some obviously familiar faces. I mean, this is like a transitional team with a whole bunch of
World Cup winners,
double World Cup winners. Like, we've been fortunate, but there will be some interesting choices and some interesting performances that we can look out for.
Well, then let's transition to that now. It's not transition as in out with the old, in with the new. It's nothing like that. We have World Cup winners, we have experienced players, we have players who've been part of the makeup of the team for a long time. It's not, and it's definitely not a B team, as it's also been, a year that getting thrown around. We've got World Cup semi-final starters, Kobus and Mani. It's not, there's no disrespect being shown to Portugal with this lineup. But before we look at that team, let's just talk quickly about these injuries. You've touched on some of them, but just some updates. Keenan Moody, he'll be ready for Australia and for the Four Nations, for that championship. That's it. But and Peter Steff might also be ready because he's going to be out for between 4 to 6 weeks. So we're hoping that he'll be ready, but there are some question marks. There are, however, exclamation points on Malcolm Marx and Franco Mostert. Franco Mostert, who is the unsung hero of the Springboks, he's that workhorse that he does everything and he doesn't do much wrong. He was also bleeding for the country on Saturday. He's out for 6 weeks. And then Edwil van der Merwe, who had that remarkable debut against Wales, is also out for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think I saw that in one of the highlights. You can actually see him, I think it's his ankle that gets caught. So, it's very unlucky for him. It would have been his time to shine. But, as one door opens, as one door closes, another one will open for someone in the squad to stake a claim.
Now, this will be South Africa and Portugal's first test.
Well,
So, complete unknown quantity. That's thrilling. And I really liked Portugal at the World Cup. So, I'm excited to see their characters. And just some other notes on this match before we take a closer look. Mani, our beloved Mani, he needs just 13 points to hit the 100 points mark. That's Test rugby. Cool. He's only been playing for about 3 minutes. And I know, yes, it's a fly-off, so it's easy to tally them.
Yeah.
But, ask any of his critics and they'll say, but he misses so much. Well, he's still getting to 100, so And then Salman Murat, who we spoke about in our first episode. He becomes the 66th Springbok captain. Delighted for him. While we're on 66, Andre Venter, who played 66 matches for the Springboks, his son, Andre Ihu, is on the bench. And should he come on, there'll be the 16th father and son Springbok
duo.
Yeah.
That's amazing. He's also been someone that I saw at the under 20 level that I thought should get a look at. So really, it's probably a heartfelt moment amongst the family as well. Also, just to touch on Murat as well. I know there's history of him with the previous regime, so it's nice to have that closure, as some weren't able to reach that dream to see it fulfilled in a later generation.
So much represented on the field. It's not just a game. But yes, very exciting. We see Thomas the Tank du Toit making a comeback, and Evan Roos, who some say should have started against Ireland. He's starting in the number 8 jersey. Quibus, who loves a run around the field. I'm sure he's raring to go. I'm thrilled. Lucanio who once was the world's greatest rugby player. He's back. Hey! And
I'm just a bit disappointed. It's got a very shocky look about this team.
Because Fussy,
Pimps, and Mapimpi,
okay.
Rainer.
Okay.
Present and former.
Okay.
But
it is Shark Week this week.
I'm just saying they're disappointed against the Griquas. But I think they weren't there for they were just there to get match fit. But
yeah.
Nonetheless, I am looking forward to what they can bring.
Yeah.
A fit and firing Lucanio arm is something that we would love to see. So I hope they take this seriously.
Yes.
They view it in light of the next World Cup, and that's why it's so sad that Edwall now misses his opportunity, because I know he definitely was in the good books with the coaching team, with his performance. It's one of those matches that you look forward to, like the Welsh game. What sort of seasoning?
Yes.
People talking about Chef Mani and what he's about to cook up. I think there was a Twitter account, called the Church of Fassi.
Oh yes, I follow it.
Yeah,
I'm a member.
They were obviously very happy to see their man. But yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement around the new players. So hopefully they produce and keep us entertained.
Yeah, I want to see some moves from Trevor and Yakani. It's not just about the young ones. Rassie was also this week talking about Ben Jason Dixon and how he's the new Peter Steff. Such strong words. Oh my goodness, strong words indeed. But yeah, I'm delighted, or I'm excited, I'm thrilled for this 6, 7, and 8 combo, because they don't play together often and it's big shoes to fill. So I'd love to see what they've got going. And again, like you said, they need to take this match seriously. The Portuguese, they're proud. They're on the ascendancy, and now they've beaten Namibia. So they've already jumped, they've already leapt over a couple of minnow levels. Usually these minnow nations, and I put that in inverted commas, they take years to get exposure and to get victories. Remember, they beat Fiji at the World Cup. So
I just that's definitely true with what you said, and I mean their performances at the World Cup is definitely going to inspire that next generation.
Oh yes.
I just want to, just looking at the squad again, Ruan Venter, that seems like they're going to be possibly, I know Ben Jason Dixon can play lock, so I'm not sure how they will shuffle the players there, but if he comes in at lock, it'll be interesting to see. He is that sort of enforcer,
and that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, we're going to need an urban incumbent, to fill our enforcer role. And then obviously Mone van der Berg, I like him.
Okay.
I really like him. I think he's probably Faf is a level-headed Mone van der Berg is what I would put it as.
Okay.
He's still got that youthful excitement and can do a bit of, let's say, expressive things.
Nice.
Just in terms of moving off the rap sheet. So I would like to see what he does. what he do in a more structured environment. Or if they are going to let him express himself.
Yes.
So I'm excited to see what he brings.
It's going to be great. So come hungry. They'll definitely be hungry. Hungry to cement their spots, hungry for jerseys, hungry to be on the coaching staff's permanent radar. And it'll be a match to sit up and pay attention to. Other fixtures this weekend, one that's worth watching, New Zealand will play Fiji on Saturday morning. That's at 4:30 South African time. Yeah. I love Fiji, and I think there might be some lovely moments and some nice things to see, and it might just be entertaining.
It will definitely be entertaining. I think these sort of games, I'm expecting New Zealand to crash them. Fiji they were almost in the last World Cup, so hopefully the continued exposure in the Super Rugby format is unearthed some talent.
Yeah,
we know they had some big misses in their squad, so hopefully they get to build on that. I wouldn't mind if they put up it's going to be entertaining game.
Yes, so it'll be beautiful.
Yeah,
and 2 huckers. Australia will play Georgia, and Georgia beat Japan.
Crazy.
Last week, 25 points to 23. So
watch
out, Australia.
A 14-man Japan.
Hey.
They did get a red card.
Yeah,
but
but
obviously at home, away from home for Georgia, and at home, that's a massive victory.
oh yes,
Georgia,
yes.
yeah, put up. I think they were probably expecting that sort of performances in the World Cup, but unfortunately, it didn't come to
Yeah.
fruition.
So I think that one might be a little closer fought than the Fiji New Zealand, and then Springboks Portugal. It's at 5 o'clock on Saturday if you're watching in South Africa. Last week we started a feature, the ones that got away. It's where we celebrate the players who were on the cusp. They had, who's the artist with the hands reaching? Is that Da Vinci?
Yeah.
Yes, they were so close to glory, but something happened, or the context, or whatever the circumstances were, they just couldn't reach it. We invite you to, in your comments, whether it's on YouTube or wherever you're listening, to also let us know who your players who got away are, and tell us why, or tell us what you think made the difference for them. Yeah, let us know. And it's Michelangelo with the hands reaching. That's the one that I'm thinking about. Yeah, so your players who have those hands reaching but not quite touching. This week, I have a player who's close to my heart. Once again, another blue ball. Maybe all my players will be blue balls. And this one is really tricky because it's one of those, and you said it earlier, when one door closes, another one opens, and the door that opened because of this closed door, we can't, no one would be able to trade or offer a trade. You see, I'm talking about Arno Botha, who I remember it was his second match. It wasn't his debut, but he just started playing for the senior Springboks. And yes, it was his second test. It was against Scotland. And basically he broke or ruptured his knee. Mm-hmm. And he was stretchered off the field so that Sia Kolisi could come on and write his name in the history books, and we know what happens next. But yeah, Arno Botha, he was captain of the under-20 team back in 2011, and that same year he was under-20 player of the year, and he was outstanding, remarkable for the Bulls. He was Skulk Burger, Big Joe van Niekerk. He was that AJ, he was that kind of Lucy. He was everywhere. He was a menace, but he also carried the ball like a PS piece. He was that package deal, and I thought he's gonna be great. And there was a moment where he might have been groomed to lead, like he was gonna be the captain of the Bulls, but it didn't happen. After that injury, he just didn't come back the same. I mean, he's playing and he did well, but it was never quite the same. He currently plays in Europe. He's moved around quite a lot. Ulster, Belfast, and he's now in France. He came back to the Bulls for a season, but then they released him because, again, a loose trio in South Africa, come on, it's tough. He hasn't been able to do much since, but there again, so close to greatness, but injury being the big factor in the change of that story. So that's him for me.
I'm not sure if my selection counts, just because he didn't have I'm thinking of two players in particular that they still had a career of sorts, but I guess it's more of not a case of one that got away, but could have been so much better.
Okay.
And it's Patrick Lambie.
Oh.
I'm just thinking of, obviously now following up on the Irish series, and just how much promise, and obviously not just the concussion, but there were other injuries that sort of sidelined him. And then someone like Jean de Villiers, I know Damien and Creel broke the record for centre partnership appearances, but Jacques Fourie was there. He was there for many duos.
Yes.
But when Jacques and Jean played together, we were cooking.
Oh yeah.
We were cooking. So obviously Jean had so many injuries. You know, even as a pundit now, you can see the rugby brain, and you can see why he was what he was. He was the OG utility player.
Yes,
You
yes,
know?
I remember him as a wing.
Exactly. And also now part-time
A police officer.
vigilante
Yes.
officer. So,
Yes, those intercepts, you know.
yeah. So I think those two, you know, just in terms of Pat Lam is only 33.
Okay, bring him back.
Exactly. That's 2 World Cups where we have Pat Lambie to count on. That would have been amazing.
Yes.
So obviously I saw him. He was doing a promo for the Durban test. So he just really stuck in my mind. I'm sure
Yeah.
there'll be another one, a more, I guess, a more, you know, somber
Yes.
memory. But for he had, I think he is over 50 tests. So it's not as if he never put his stamp on it. But just someone that could have potentially been much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great. Actually, because we see Jean de Villiers so often, and because he was part of Tri Nations victories and things, we forget those moments where he collected a World Cup medal while wearing a pair of jeans because he was injured throughout the
Yeah.
tournament or early on in the tournament. So yeah, I get that. It doesn't have to be complete disaster. This is, if anything, this is a Michelangelo because they were so close.
So close.
Yeah. So as you can hear, it's a wide spectrum, and we'd love to hear from you, the ones who got away, and any other comments. And who are you excited to see as the Springboks take on Portugal? Are you looking out to see those comebacks? Lucanio, Mapimpi, Mani, Kobus, Trevor, or are you just looking at those young ones? Let us know, and of course, you're part of the conversation. And Timothy, thank you so much, as always.
Thank you.
Until next time, this is Nice Try for the fans.